Hi, good day. Welcome to CMS. In this video, we will continue in the quantity surveying work, but we'll start now for the MAB quantity surveying. Actually, for any construction project, you have to consider the subcontract items in your calculation. We just give here in CMS like an indications for quantity surveying of all the subcontracts activity to give you as a construction company or as a main contractor a figure how will be the cost for each subcontract activity, only for a figure to just for yourself to can identify and or evaluate the prices or the quotations which you receive from your subcontractors. So we'll start now with the MAB. Let's click in the MAB. We'll find here MAB divided for electrical work, sanitary work, fire system work, HVAC systems, and infrastructure. So let's start now and find how we'll calculate the quantity surveying and later the cost estimation for the MAB works. Let's start with the electrical work. When you click the electrical work, CMS will guide you for the page of the MAB, the divisions which we talked about now. We'll start with electrical work as it's mentioned here. Before starting through the tables, let's see how the drawing look like for the MAB work. If you have a drawings for the electrical work, you will find the drawings like this. For electrical work, this is starting with the lights, showing the locations of the light for all the building or all the floors. It will be repeated according to the number of the floors. Like this, he's showing the lights, so that's the lights drawings. You will have also the power drawings, which you have the location of the sockets for each floor, and the AC drawings, which you have the locations for the AC and the routes of all the AC and the AC ducts later, and others power related to the pumps and other electrical items. Meanwhile, you will have the load scheduled, showing all the consists of the DBs or the distribution board, like MCB and the ECP and the wires and the cables and whatever, all the components of the DBs you will find it inside the load schedule drawings. So let's see now how to treat with the drawings and the schedule of MAB by CMS. When you open here the CMS in the MAB and electric, you will find he's asking you for the point. First, for the first category, as we informed before, we divide the category, we divide the buildings for some floors till mezzanine or podium's floor, and another for the typical floors. The same we did before in all the structure work. He's asking here for the descriptions. This description is almost 99% of the electrical work must be there. Description here for the lights, fans and the power sockets, heater, AC and pumps. You will insert here the quantity of the lights. From where you will get these quantities of the light, you have two options: either to use the schedule and calculate the numbers and account the numbers of the lights as mentioned in the schedules. This schedule, you find this schedule for each dB, so you will calculate the numbers of the schedule for each dB, and you can, according to the number and the location of the dB, you will insert the numbers of the lights according to the load schedule. The other way is to account the numbers of the lights from the drawing, from here, like this. You just count the number of the lights according to each type. You have the type for each one. Accordingly, you will insert the lights according to each type. Here he is giving you here a distance. This distance is from the light to the dB. Why you are entering this distance? This distance required to calculate the length of the cables and the wires and the pipes. When you enter for him this distance from the light to the dB, of course you will insert the average length of the light. If you have the drawing like this, you have the dB here, you will just calculate if you are considering this location. For example, we'll consider this location. So we have here the dB, and you have the number of the lights here. So you'll insert the number of the lights, and now we need a average length from the light in the center, suppose light of the center, to the dB. You will have this full length, the horizontal length and the vertical length. So when you give him this length, he will start calculate for each light the length of the wires and the pipes which is connecting the light with the dB. So you will insert all the numbers of the lights if you are talking about this floor, and if this floor is repeated for 3 or 4 floors or 5 or whatever, after you insert the number of the lights which is here, you will put the number of the floor in this location. If the floors, again as we did in the structure, if the floors are not typical, you will insert here only number 1, and you will calculate the numbers for all the floors. You will calculate the number of the lights, and you will count the number of the lights for all the floors, and you will insert it here. That's the way. You will do the same for any type of the light and additional light. What the mean of light and additional light? Normally for the lights, it will be a main light which is receive the power from the dB, and this light is giving the power for all other lights. One light will take the power from the dB and the switch, and this light will distribute the power to the other light around. How we will know this one? From the loops of the lights, like this loops, which showing the loops between the lights, the power from where the power is coming from one location and giving the power for this light. So that's the main light. Then this light giving for another 2 or 3 lights. So that's the light which have the direct power, and the other 3 or 4 lights which have the power from the main light. So we have one main light and the others are additional. That's the meaning of the light and additional lights. So you will insert the same according to the types for each floor, or for one floor and multiply in the repetition according to the repetition for the material for the floors till mezzanine or podium floors. The same you will do for a bell, for a fan, for chandeliers. Whatever you will have on the ceiling, you will add it like this. So you will put the length between the main light and the dB, then the length between each additional light and the other, like what we saw now. So that's the main line, the main length, then the length between each lights and others, and this can be as an average length, not required to calculate it one by one. Give it an average length and put more margin for this. And the same you will do for the power. When you see the drawings of the sockets, you will find for each room we have 1 or 2 or 3 sockets. One of them will be the main and the others will be the additional. So you will insert also the same. If you have the 13 ampere socket, you will add the quantities of the main sockets and the quantity of the additional. You will add also the length between the socket and the dB, and the length between each socket and the others. This will be the average as we informed. The same we will have for also the 15 ampere socket, and you will insert the number of the heaters, number of AC, which is mentioned also in the power drawings. Either these AC units are split or ducted or chillers or whatever. You will enter only the number of the power for each unit. The same also for the number of the pumps and the dimension and the distance between this power provision for each AC or pumps to the dB. So here only you will insert for each floor, and this must be covered the full floor, because you multiply in the numbers of the floor, or it will be multiply in one and you will insert all the floors which are not in similarity. The same you will do also in the typical floors. You will add here the numbers of the typical floors. In our case we have a 15. Then you will insert the lights for each type of the lights as we did in the previous floors, the length between the dB and the main light, and the length between lights to lights. And we'll do the same for the fans, for the sockets, for the AC, for the pumps. So you will only this you will insert for the lights and power. CMS considering here the wires diameter which are required for these connections. So CMS considering here 3 milli and 2 milli as an earth wire for the lights. For sockets he consider 6 milli and 3 for earth. For heaters he consider also 4. So this you can change if you need. If you need to change, you can change according to the design. This also can be confirmed from where? From the load schedule. It's mentioned here for the light, the type of the wire, the main wire and the earth wire. It is mentioned in the schedule, so you can use both drawing and schedule in your calculation. What CMS will give you? CMS will give you all the material quantities required for the lights and power. CMS will calculate for you all the required wires, the full length for the wires for each diameter, the pipes or the flexible pipes which you require. You already insert for him the length of the between the lights and DB and the lights and the other lights. It will give you also the coupler which is required to connect the wires together, the PVC box and the GI box, and the sockets quantities which are required for this types of the floors. So you will have all the outputs directly for all the material required for these floors. And of course when you insert for him the price, as we'll see later, he will give you the full cost of these materials. The same will happen here in the typical floors. This is what is related to the lights and power. Balance now the DBs itself and the cables. How to deal with the DBs and the cables? In this case we have to use the schedule directly. As we see, we have for each DB we have a table schedule, we have a load schedule for each DB. Each of these tables are related to the DB. So we'll consider 1 DB as an example, and we'll find what are the components of this table, meanwhile the components of this DB. And as we said, this will be only as an indication for the MEB quantity surveying and the cost estimation. Meanwhile, you will arrange for a quotation from a specialist as a main contractor or a consultant or a client, and as we said, this will give you an approximate figure for the MEB quantities and cost estimation. So for example, for this DB we have here the components of the DB, the MCCB and the ELCB. That's the main components. So we'll just account how many MCCB and how many ELCB, and you will find here in the CMS, here you will insert the number of them, the same distribution board which have the same component, and the components of the distribution board which are the MCCB and the ELCB. So we have to insert now all the numbers of the MCB inside the DB and the numbers of the ELCB inside the DB. We'll find here the MCB have variety from 10 ampere till 450 ampere, and we'll find also for the ELCB the types of the ELCB. What we have to do, we have to insert the numbers of all these. From where we got this one, MCB and ELCB? From the table or from the load schedule. The load schedule for any DB, for example this DB, will have the ELCB, so we'll take the number of the ELCB 1, 2, 3, 4, and we have two types. We have the type of the 40-100, we have 40-100, we have 40-30, that's the other type, 40-30, 40-100, 40-100. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. The same are 40-100 and 2 40-30. This we will insert in the schedule here. We have 40-30 2 and 40-100 4. What about the MCB? We'll find also in the schedule here, and that's the amperes number. So we will count only how many for 10 ampere, how many for 16 ampere, how many for 20, how many for 32, and the others, and 40 and whatever. After we count this one, we'll insert it also here. say we have 10 for 20, 5 for 16, 1 for 40, 3 for 42, whatever. So whatever we have in the for each dB, we will insert it here. So these two tables for 1 dB. We'll enter here the type of the dB with the location of the dB for our reference, as we see now. Then in the next step, to make a cost estimation, we'll insert the price for each MCB and ELCB, and we'll put the price for the fabrication. This to give you the figure for the cost of 1 dB according to the numbers of the dBs which you will insert. If this dBs will have a repetition, so maybe this dB is repeated 20 times in the building, another dB will repeat it 50 times in the building, whatever, according to the how many apartments, how many rooms, how many shops, whatever. So the load schedule must be checked properly along with the drawings. We will insert for each type of dB in this table in CMS. Balance now is the cable length, the cable diameter or cable types and length. We have single core cables and we have 4 core cables. From where we get these numbers of the cables or the diameter and the types of the cable? Also from the load schedule. Here we have the cable size, which is connecting this dB with another main dB. We have here for 4 core 35 milli and for 1 core 16 milli. So we have for the same length 35 milli and 16 milli. This is coming from where? From the source of this dB. Each dB must have a source, as it is mentioned here, from this dB number S, and it is coming from the sub main dB. So on the drawing you have to calculate the length of the cable from the sub main dB till this dB. You have to calculate it horizontally and vertically, and give also a good margin or a good buffer for the cable as a contingency. You will do the same for each dB. You will have in the load schedule all the dB types and all the sub main dBs. You will do also the same what we did in the first dB. You will repeat it for all dBs and you will insert it in the CMS according to the project design with the same way as we did. So we'll insert here the length of the cables, each dB separately. At the end you will find that you inserted all the lengths of the cables which are required for the building. Now we already finished all the required materials for the electrical work. Balance now the labor cost. Labor costs are always by the electrical subcontractor. They are calculating per point, and they have common price or average price for each point, how much it will be calculated as a labor cost. You will put this price here. For your information, the labor cost for the lights shall not be the same for the sockets or for the AC or for the pumps or for dB or whatever. Each one have different rates, but for easy calculation, even the subcontractors, they are considering the light as a 1 point and considering the sockets as 1.5 points or 2 points, and the heater like 4 points, the AC like 6 points, like this. They have a rates for everyone. CMS was feeds with these calculations and these ratios, and it is ready in the CMS. What you have to do, you have to only put the price for the 1 point only. How much for 1 point in the market as a labor charge? Just add it like this. Also for the cable, for 1 meter of cable, you will insert also the cost for 1 meter as a labor charge. At the end you will have the full labor charge for the building. CMS will give you the price of the material and labor cost. So that's the cost of the electrical work calculated by CMS. So that's the first way to insert the cost of the electrical work. Otherwise you will insert the cost directly here from the subcontractor. You will hear as CMS telling you, or add direct by subcontractor. Whatever you receive the price for the subcontractor, you can add it here directly. For telephone and TV and satellite and whatever, you will also do the same. You will check the drawing and you'll find the sockets of the TV and satellite, how many numbers. You will just insert the number of the telephone and the satellite sockets according to the drawing. for the full building, we'll insert only here. If you have data socket, you'll insert here. Whatever you have, any type located in the building as a TV socket or satellite socket, you will insert the description and the numbers and the rates, or also to provide the price directly from the subcontractor and put it here. Thank you for watching, and see you.